So I'm going to do the presentation in English. All those slides are in Spanish. This is Spanish, basically. Okay, I'm going to present a work that is Pischinger and Nordenström, two parallel revolutions. And for me, this is just the excuse to talk about something that is paradigms. Sometimes we're so focused in the detail of the things that we lose, or at least I lose, the big picture of the thing. So for me sometimes, from time to time, it is interesting to just see where are we and what are we doing. So since almost 300 years ago, 250 years ago, we have like two different paradigms that are coexisting at the same time. One of them is Darwin. Darwin said that evolution comes because of there is limited resources in nature, in the environment, and only the strongest is the one that is going to survive. Okay, so we are talking about a paradigm that is based on fighting, is based on separation and individualism. At the same time, in the same moment that Darwin was saying this, there was also Lamarck saying that evolution has to do with cooperation. Cooperation not only among animals or among species, but also among the environment. I mean, it's cooperation in general. And the environment is the responsible of everything that is happening. So this brings us to another totally different point of view, that is, everything happens because of cooperation, symbiosis. Okay? So if we go in another fractal of space and time, and instead of thinking in big animals, we think in small animals or small organisms, like microorganisms, we have the same paradigm with Pasteur and Béchamp. Pasteur was saying the diseases are created because there are external agents that are creating that, okay? Is this germ theory of disease. And at the same time, Béchamp was saying, no, it's not the person, it's not the microbe, it's the environment, it's the terrain, the one is responsible. It's the same idea that Lamarck, but in another fractal of space and time. Okay, so we have these two theories at the same time. We can go even a little bit deeper in this same paradigm. In another fractal of space and time, we find Pischinger. And Pischinger, what he was saying is, the cell is never alone. The cell depends on the environment, and is this terrain, is this environment the one that is responsible of the health? We can even go a deeper fractal and go to epigenetics, because they are talking exactly about the same. Okay, so is this extracellular matrix, is this environment, is this terrain the one that is responsible of health? And he's talking about the cell and its circumstances, as we say. Okay. And this extracellular matrix, this terrain, is responsible of regulation, and is doing a lot of things. And then, in this paradigm, in this third system that Pischinger says, okay, we have a cell, and we have the environment of the cell. When the cell is healthy, this environment is slightly alkaline. When the cell is creating, is doing the metabolism, all the toxins that are created by the same metabolism are acidic. Okay, so we start having an idea about this environment, when it's healthy and when it's not healthy. And in front of this acidification, the cell is starting doing something to defense. That can be many different strategies. Can be hydration, can be apoptosis, can be taking calcium from the bones, can be changing the metabolism to another one that has lack of oxygen, whatever. So now we are going to go from this Pischinger that is saying the cell is never alone and the health depends totally on the environment, to the electricity. Because Nordenström, the other person, talks about electricity. So let's go, for example, from the pH. We know that the pH should be between 7.35 and 7.45. What is the pH? pH is the concentration of electric charges. So we can understand something acidic as a thief of electrons, someone that wants to take electrons, okay, is a positive pole. Alkaline means a donor of electrons, someone that is ready to give electrons, okay, because they have a lot. So when something is healthy, is alkaline, means I have a lot of electrons, I can give you electrons. When something is toxic, is acidic, and say I want electrons, I need electrons, and that's what happens is that the one that has a lot of electrons gives electrons to the one that doesn't have electrons. And what is that? A chemical reaction. So we can understand any chemical reaction that is happening in the body just as an exchange of electrons. If you want the dance of the electrons. Okay, and for example, here we have in this axis voltage. 0, negative voltage, and positive voltage. Health is always negative. Health is always electronegative, always. When we have an injury, in this case, they are cuts in the leg of a salamander or of a frog, this potential that is electronegative suddenly drops. It's a leakage of electrons. This leg is losing a lot of electrons, which is the difference between the salamander that can regenerate everything or a frog that cannot regenerate anything. The difference is only the ability to create electrons or to get electrons. So what these experiences are saying is that healing is also an electric thing. Okay? So we can talk about the pH as a voltage in a dissolution. So we can have this extreme pH. 0 means I need a lot of electrons. 7 means I'm fine. And pH equal 14 is saying, I can give you all the electrons you want. Okay, we have to be more or less in between these two values, that is minus 20 and minus 30, because life is always electronegative. Okay? Don't confuse that with the transmembrane potential, that is another issue. Okay, so in this dance of the electrons, we have a lot of science there. There are many, many authors that have been talking about that, starting, for example, with St. Georgi. Anyone that has this double star means that it's a Nobel Prize. Albert St. Georgi was the first in saying life is electric. Okay, then Lakowski was talking about all the resonators that we have in our body and how to find balance with coherence. Becker, Berlin are talking about these electric currents, these injury currents, that is how with electricity I can heal the wounds and I can even heal many diseases. I'm not going to go deeper on that. Warburg and the interpretation that Jorge Céspedes was doing about how the transmembrane potential, when the cell is healthy, is minus 90. When the cell is getting sick, is minus 50. When the cell is cancerous, it's minus 20. When the cell is in division, it's minus 15. So the cancer cell has a transmembrane potential, a voltage that is quite similar to a cell in division. That is very easy to understand why a cancer cell is dividing so quickly. And it's easy also to understand how to get this cancer cell out of there quickly, just increasing this transmembrane potential. Then we have Maywan, Ho, and Froelich talking about coherence in radiations and how these electromagnetic radiations are sustained by the water. That is what Pollack, Del Giudice, and Chaplin, I think that they don't like to be together in the same book, but they talk about the same, how the water is the one that is supporting the radiations. Or Benveniste and Daniel talking about how the water is able to store electric information, and this can also be an explanation about homeopathy, how does it work. But we are going to talk about Nordenström. Nordenström was a chairman in the Nobel Assembly for many years in Sweden. And from him, it was say, if he's right, he has made the most profound biomedical discovery of the century. Anyone of you know Nordenström? What happened with these big scientists that do these amazing things, and they have to go to China to cure and to treat their patients? In China, they were curing with his method almost 15,000 patients with a rate of success than almost 80%. And he had to go to China, because even he was a super amazing scientist with lots of publications and a lot of prestige. And as a radiologist, many people are following his instructions. Nobody knows him. That's amazing. So what he was saying is basically the same that Pischinger was saying, but in an electric way. There are electric currents that are crossing the tissues. It's not that we are going to have cables. It's that the electric currents goes from the blood vessels to the extracellular matrix, because there are positive charges that are toxins and there are cells that are dying, and we have negative charges that are, for example, white blood cells. And these are creating fluxes, and these fluxes are exactly what make us heal. Okay, so I just want to present these two examples as a kind of what are we doing with health? Okay, because if we are still thinking that the reason of something is that it comes a germ or it comes an enemy and I have to fight this and I have to kill that, okay, I think that we are going to last a lot in finding solutions. because I think that the reality comes more in the environment. And when I say environment, it's not only, it's anything. I mean, it's the environment in a fractal that I'm an organism and what is surrounding me, what I'm breathing, what I'm eating, what I'm doing. It's also my mental and my emotional environment. It's everything. You just need to go from different fractals of space and time. So I encourage you to think about this. I think that the reality is about cooperation. So let's stop fighting against nature. Let's stop fighting against ourselves.
Okay, great.